Good evening. We're up here on the roof putting down some of this waterproof membrane. It'll be the last piece for this edition, and then I can get the underlayment on the other side of the roof, and this thing will be watertight. So as is typical, we've got the sticky membrane going on in the valley and on the eaves and on the rakes. And lastly, on the ridge. Now, as you might have seen in earlier videos, this roof is going to be ventilated. Actually, all of the roofs on this house are going to be ventilated. Most especially the ones that have a cathedral ceiling. That's that one there and that guy over there. Mainly because those are tricky to air seal and it's easy to get moisture in the cavity. So I want to definitely vent I would always vent a cathedral ceiling, but on this house I'm going to vent every roof. And this particular section, this big long section right here, this it's got a little cathedral ceiling at the front entryway, but mostly it's a flat ceiling. But it's going to have a conditioned attic. So this will have rigid foam out about an inch from the sheathing with some spacers that it will attach to. And that'll form an air channel. And there are going to be some pretty substantial soffit vents on all of the cavities between the rafters, and that will provide an airspace between that rigid foam and the sheathing. And so up at the top here we need to cut a slot, and a ridge vent will go on top of that, and that's how the moist air exits. So this is kind of a problem area, I know, on houses where they have a ridge vent. So we're putting ice and water on both sides, and the ridge vent will be nailed into the rafters. So it'll be nailed through this, and that's a self-sealing membrane. So even if the nails get loose over time and we get a little water, slipping in between the ridge shingles, it should be pretty well protected. So got this slot cut yesterday, and doing it two ways, old section and new section. So this is new construction right here. So the way I did this has a 2x10 ridge board, pseudo ridge beam. So I just brought the rafters up about an inch above that to create that airspace there. Otherwise I would have to have a really wide slot, and depending on the make and model of the vent you're using, you want about 1.5 to 2 inches. So that really wouldn't work with this configuration. And in those two sections, they actually have a 4x12 ridge because those are vaulted ceilings. So that wouldn't have worked at all there. So that's how I'm doing it for these sections that have more than just a 1x ridge board, is just popping these up a bit and then cutting about 2 inches, so we have a little space on either side and a good gap where that sheathing sits above the rafter. And then in the old section, probably can't see it too great, but in the old section, it's a 2x6, full dimension 2x6 old oak rafters, and there's a 1x8 ridge board. So the way you typically do it in that configuration is you just cut on either side, cut about a 2-inch slot, so you've got about an inch, 3/4 of an inch or an inch on either side of that ridge board, and that gets you your ventilation space. So we've got our slot, got one side waterproofed. Gonna do the other side here, and then I'll put some underlayment over this temporarily to seal up that slot from the weather, and get the rest of the underlayment on this side. And then this roof will be ready for shingles. See you next time.